Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, animals, spirits alike, we have a trade of all trades right here, right now. Ben Simmons is now a Net. James Harden is now a Sixer. It has happened. And let me tell you guys something. From a personal perspective, I prayed about this. Because I feel like Ben Simmons has been sitting in this situation for far too long. He's losing money, and he's standing on what he believes in. This whole situation has been ridiculous. And I just wanted to see this guy get moved, man, in a way that lands him in a situation that ultimately puts him in a position to be able to play the game that he loves and not hate where he's at. And I think he'll be in that situation this year. So, thank God for that. And, of course, James Harden, same thing. I wish the same for James Harden. It's an LA dude. The Philadelphia 76ers have wanted him for a while now. Daryl Morey felt very, very incomplete, in my opinion, for not making this trade years ago when he had an opportunity to do this very same deal. And I felt like he always wanted to get this deal done. So I think this is a win. Congratulations to the Philadelphia 76ers organization. I was wrong. Clearly I was wrong. It doesn't sit well with me that I have to say that, but inaccuracy requires that I step up and be a man about that. So I was wrong. You waiting was the right move. I didn't like how you handled that. I still don't like how you handled that. But you waiting was the right move. Now, let's get into the details of this deal. The Nets will be receiving Ben Simmons, of course, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. One that's coming up right now in 2022, which is unprotected. So whatever it lands on, whatever that pick would be, they get it. And then they get another one in 2027 that is protected, and I didn't get the details of that protection just yet. And the Sixers are going to be receiving James Harden and Paul Millsap. Now let's get to the details. Seth Curry is on a 2-year, $8.2 million contract, so they'll have him expiring next season. Drummond is on a 1-year, $1.6, which I think is a big-time acquisition for them, low-key. They needed size. And I know they were going after Matisse Thybulle, but there was no way in hell Philly was about to do that. So, you know, Matisse is going to have to develop, though, because they just gave away 2 picks for him, and it could be 2 very valuable. Well, I ain't going to say 2 valuable picks because these 2 teams are very good. But you can definitely see where, you know, in 2027 that pick could really turn into something. Who knows? It's protected. We'll see how that goes. And, of course, Ben Simmons, who's on a $33 million contract for 4 years. So the Nets got their future in this kid. And 2 picks to go with it. I personally think they won this deal. And I'm kind of surprised by that because, you know, this is Daryl Morey we're talking about. On the other hand, the Sixers get James Harden, who's on a 2-year, $44 million contract, which means they're going to have to find a way to re-sign him next season. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. And Paul Millsap is a guy who I'm pretty sure they'll just go ahead and waive at 1 year, 1.6. I doubt that he even plays for the Sixers. Daryl Morey, you know, I got to say this. Because you wanted James Harden so bad, you just overpaid for him, dude. You really did. You overpaid for him. And that's coming from somebody who thought of Ben Simmons as somebody who, you know, should be given a lot of compensation on top of. I've been screaming that, and I think that they honored that. I think the Nets did a fantastic job in honoring that by making sure that they got a lot of stuff to come with it. But I think they just depleted a lot of what it is that made them flexible in this deal into picking up James Harden, a guy who, if I'm being real, is a bit finicky. He may wake up one morning and decide he won't want to be there no more and test free agency and probably sign somewhere else. So I just think this is one of those situations where you know, I think Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers desire to have a specific player could potentially have just bit them in the backside, low key. I like James Harden, but he is on the decline. We've all seen that all season long. Now, him and Joel Embiid can go to work. But as some of the analysts have been saying, Joel Embiid's game is going to have to change now because now they're bringing in James Harden. Tyrese Maxey doesn't get the same looks. It's going to be interesting to see how James Harden, a guy who plays fantastic in the half court, loves to put people in blenders, loves to get to the line, slows the game down quite a bit because of it. It's going to be interesting to see how a declining James Harden fits in with this team. Now, if they're able to pull it together for half of a season, I think they can do some mighty damage. But I would be lying if I said that I'm certain this is a good deal for them, because I actually don't believe it is. Not given the fact that James Harden's only off for another 2 years and the fact that he is declining, The fact that Paul Millsap is just a player that you just threw in that you're probably not even going to use. I really think Daryl Morey thirst for making up for that old deal just got him in some trouble right now. I really believe that. I don't think James Harden is this anymore. The Nets, on the other hand, if I could clap my hands without dropping my phone, I would. Well done. Well done, Brooklyn. Well done. Well done, Brooklyn. Well done. First of all, Seth Curry alone, without giving up Patty Mills, Seth Curry alone is a A. You ain't even have to bring in all this other stuff. You bringing in Seth Curry and having Patty Mills on the team, oh my God. Oh my God. That bench is going to be immaculate. The type of shooting they're going to be having down there, yeah, they're better. They're literally better. And then you talk about Drummond. They needed the size. They didn't have a legitimate bench for themselves, in my opinion. They got a lot of guys that are okay, but not quite that great. You know what I mean? It's like sort of like the Lakers, but a little better because of their circumstances. Now you could see that they have a Drummond in place who can come in. Even though I'm not in love with Drummond's game, had him on the Lakers last year, I kind of know who he is. At the end of the day, he's coming off the books. You can just waive him if you don't want him. I mean, it's very simple to do. Ben Simmons is a young player on a 4-year deal. We know what Ben Simmons' issues are, but they should be masked with the fact they have so much shooting. You got KD, you got Kyrie, you got Seth Curry, you got Patty Mills. That is enough shooting to make Ben Simmons feel really, really good about not having to shoot the ball. Spacing and all that other stuff. You don't have to worry about all that. You don't never have to shoot no threes on this team. Just make sure KD gets the ball and everything else will fall into place. This is beautiful. And then the first round picks. Oh my God. The Nets needed picks. They were in a situation where they didn't have much of a future without these guys. Kyrie, Irving, and all these guys, if they left, they were in the trouble that the Lakers are in. Now they get 2 first-round picks, a young player that they get to bring in next year, which in my opinion is probably a back of the bench, not back of the bench, but back of the draft pick. But Kyle Kuzma was a back of the draft pick, and several other guys that you know are really, really good can be found in the back of a draft, especially in this era where all these kids are coming in 10 times better than the kids that came in previous eras. So the chances for the Nets to get somebody that can immediately help them or somebody that can be potentially a really, really good player is, I think, fairly high with this immediate pick coming up in this upcoming draft. It's the Sixers pick. Like I said, I think the Sixers, they're going to be a playoff team, at least the second round, at the very least. So you don't expect it to be in the top 20, but somewhere in that 21, 22, 23 range, maybe, depending on how things go for the Sixers. And given the fact that they just depleted a lot of what they had in terms of shooting, you never know. Maybe you get lucky there. Maybe that fit doesn't work as well as they're hoping it will. Those picks turn out to be great. And the 2027 pick just gives you a future pick. They'll probably end up moving that at some point because it's so far ahead in the future. But it is an excellent asset to have. No telling what the Philadelphia 76ers will look like by then. And you never know. That pick could be fantastic. Who knows? This is a win, man, for the Nets. I'll tell you, bro, sis, whoever's watching me, this is a win. I know Ben Simmons has his issues, and getting him on for 4 years rather at $33 million could be a little bit of a risk if he comes in and plays terribly. But I just don't think there's many teams that he fits on better than the Nets. And we said that here on this channel back when this first started coming about. Pretty much right after he had that playoff game and we were saying, okay, he's never going to come back. Where can he go? One of the top places I said was the Nets because he provides him a defensive player who can anchor their defense entirely. Now you don't have to have KD trying to play fantastic defense on some of these best players. Now you don't have to worry about where the defense is going to come from. Obviously, it's addition by subtraction because James Harden's not that great of a defender. And I think it puts the ball in KD's and Kyrie's hands more and gives them an opportunity to go to work. You know, James Harden is obviously an asset, but he had been declining. Like, let's just be real. James Harden wasn't the James Harden from Houston. And while he's still super talented, some of that explosiveness, some of that speed, he's taking a step back, which is why I think this is not a really fantastic deal for the Sixers in the long term, especially since they're going to have to find a way to re-sign him at the end of the year, next year. So, yeah, I give the Sixers about a B-, to be honest with you. I'm not in love with this deal for them. I think they should have tried to get a little more, giving up all that equity. And I give this an A+ to the Nets. This is they hit this thing out the park. They smacked that thing out the park so far. I mean, God, I just love it because you got Drummond coming off the books at 1 year, 1.6. Seth Curry, damn near an all-star right now. When the way he's been playing these last 2 years, he's still headed upward. His trajectory is that away. And then you talk about the picks, and then of course Ben Simmons, of whom has his flaws, but when he's happy, top 10 player, top 15, and mind you this, he's still a kid. Ben Simmons is still young, like really young. So if KD bounces, Kyrie bounces, you got Ben Simmons to carry forward, and all you got to do is surround him with shooters, and you're going to be in the playoffs because he's that damn good. And I'll tell you this, he's a lot better without Joel Embiid. A lot better. Now, there's no Joel Embiid to be there for him to not be better around. Just players he can get the ball to. And he's in New York. He is in New York. Now, one hand, you say, uh-oh, he's about to deal with the New York media. It might not be built for that. This could backfire. You probably didn't want to put him in that big a situation. On the other hand, you say, man, this is an exciting player that's going to bring more attention, even more attention to Barclays. Because at the end of the day, this is a much better defensive player than James Harden. He's much younger than James Harden. And I think he, going forward, has a chance to be more productive just off strength of age and defensive prowess and passing ability. He is going to be so electrifying playing off of KD. I would not be surprised if we look up and this kid is averaging more than 8 or 9 assists a game, big rebounds, good defensive stats. He doesn't really have to score. Don't even worry about scoring. Just get the ball to Kyrie. Oh, man, Kyrie, Irving, and Ben Simmons. Yo, I am more excited about this than I was about the James Harden trio. This is a better trio, in my opinion, because it plays more so to the strengths of the other two guys. Now KD and Kyrie are not trying to defer to another guy who's going to be shooting the ball a bunch of times. Instead, Ben Simmons is looking to get them the ball. And he's great at it. He's literally one of the best passers maybe ever. You are putting together one of the best defensive players in the game and one of the best passers in the game. And the problems that he has is that he hated where he was at. He's terrible at the free throw line. That's a thing. It's a thing. And doesn't shoot the ball. And hopefully over time, he's learned to kind of shake off some of that. I wouldn't be surprised if he does shoot the ball. Maybe he's worked that thing out. I think he's going to be so excited to not be in Philadelphia that I expect him to play fantastic out the gate. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe you have to take a little time to get used to the system, obviously. You look up and you say, okay, that's a rookie, not a rookie coach, but Steve Nash he hasn't yet come into his own as a coach. It's going to be interesting to see how those personalities mesh because Ben Simmons is a mercurial dude, to say the least. KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, the volatility level of this locker room could be ridiculous. But it wasn't that great with James Harden. It's not like James Harden's, you know what I mean? This is a better fit for Kyrie and KD. And if they could find a way to take this kid under their wing, show him the love that he wasn't getting in Philly, you are going to have yet another all-star in place and a bunch of equity to show for losing James Harden, who was on the decline any damn way. W. A. I'll say A. I'm not going to say A+. I think A+ should be reserved for the pinnacle of all trades. But this is damn close, in my opinion, for the Nets. I don't know how other people view this. A lot of people are a little lower on Ben Simmons based on what they've seen last, based on his behavior, based on his mental health and all that stuff. I just think that he needed to get the hell out of Philly. And now that he's in another situation that I could argue is better for him, playing with even better talent, and depending on how you feel about Joel Embiid and KD, KD is KD. Kyrie is Kyrie. So, I don't know, man. I said the Nets were going to win the championship at the beginning of the season. I think if they find a way to make this fit work, they can win the championship this season. I don't think they've fallen off at all. I really don't think they've fallen off at all with this. I love Ben Simmons in this place. It's only about 3 teams that he would have comfortably went into, in my opinion, and been himself without being asked to do other things. And Brooklyn's probably the best of those 3. This is a home run. This is where I was hoping he would land. This is what I prayed for. This is great for Ben Simmons. I think James Harden's where he wants to be. I think he has an opportunity at a championship as well, even though I am not as in love with Philly. I just have to think about that a little more. Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, and then the high usage of Joel Embiid. Look, you're adding, you're not subtracting if you're Philly, because they didn't have Ben Simmons all year. But they are subtracting when you consider Seth Curry leaving. I think you can replace Seth Curry with James Harden, feel just fine. Nobody's going to miss Drummond at all over there, unless Joel Embiid gets hurt. Now you have to understand that it would probably be smart over the next hour or throughout the, through the buyout market to try to get him another legitimate backup center. Because one thing about Drummond is that he gave you all the insurance in the world for Joel Embiid. And at the end of the day, this is still a COVID protocol year. So even if he doesn't get hurt, he can still get removed from the lineup at any moment. So that's something to think about. I think losing Drummond could potentially hurt the Sixers as well. And I think that was worked into the equation for Sean Marks when he considered this deal. How can we kind of mess them up a little bit? And I think he did that. So, I love this trade for the Nets. I mean, you guys see that. For the Sixers, I think it's really solid. If James Harden comes in ready to go, if he could find some of that energy that he had back in Houston, they could be the NBA champions themselves. Don't get it twisted. They are very much a better team on paper for the acquisition of James Harden, given the fact that Ben Simmons ain't been there all year. So, all in all, this is pretty good. It's pretty good for the Sixers, but it's damn good for Brooklyn. It is damn good for Brooklyn. It's damn good for the Eastern Conference. You got some exciting basketball to watch. Brooklyn's going to be one to watch again. I mean, they always were, but I don't know how KD and Kyrie feel about this move. But what I will say is you don't have to worry about defense as much. Whatever your defensive issues were, they're gone. And I could argue you didn't lose anything in shooting because Seth Curry is that damn good. He really is that good as a shooter. And I just love the idea of him, Patty Mills, being on my bench. They're going to destroy people. Kyrie can take games off. They should be just fine. And from what I understand, he may not have to. So that's another thing. Now, do they trade Kyrie? I doubt it. But it is a question. I seriously doubt it. So that's what I got to say, man. I'm super excited about this deal. I can't wait to see these teams. I cannot wait to see these teams. This is great, man. Congratulations to everybody involved, especially Ben Simmons, man. This is what I've wanted for you, little bro. This is what I've wanted for you. Congratulations. Do work and do not be afraid to do what you need to do to make sure that your mental health is in place so that you can be of service to Brooklyn, because they have had a rough go at it. And you know what I'm saying? As I'll say this in this camera as well. You can't run from your problems. And I said this in many videos, and I'm saying it right here. Just because, and this goes for both of the stars, believe it or not, this goes for James Harden too. You can't run from your problems. Whatever you need to fix on the inside, going from city to city to city to city is not going to make it work. You got to find it in yourself to overcome whatever it is you got to deal with, so that you don't find yourself constantly finding new places to be unhappy in. James Harden is the example, because everywhere he's gone, he's wanted out. He forced his way to Brooklyn, forced his way now to Philly. Will he force his way out of there if this doesn't work out? Same goes for Ben. You got to work on what matters up there so that you can be at peace no matter where you are. And if things get worse, at least you can handle them without the emotion involved, and certainly without losing any damn money. So I'm glad his money gets to go back in his pocket. He goes to Brooklyn. He gets to play in a situation that fits him better than Philly, in my opinion. And I am super excited for that young man. So that's what I got, man. BDF 44. I'm very happy for it all. Peace.